It warrants that. Let's go straight to tonight's Out in the Open panel. Peter Nunez, a former U.S. attorney and chairman of the Center for Immigration Studies. Miguel Perez, he's a syndicated columnist and journalism professor at New York's Lehman College, and CNN contributor Roland Martin. Good to have all three of you with us tonight. You were just watching the demonstrations today. We're reflecting on how much bigger they were this time last year. In the meantime, Congress has done little more than debate this issue of reform. No meaningful legislation put forward. So who do you hold accountable for that, Miguel?
I hold everybody accountable. Congress, even the organizers of these demonstrations dropped the ball last year. They had momentum going. They built up more than 1 million people all over the country demonstrating last year. This year, as you can see, the demonstrations are smaller because they basically sat on their hands for a few months while Congress was doing all these draconian measures, passing all this incredible stuff, holding hearings that were basically very lopsided hearings toward the anti-immigrant attitude and crowd. So yeah, a lot of people are responsible for not passing legislation. Congress is definitely involved, but I think these activists, it's not enough to build a civil rights movement once a year. You have to keep going. If you build momentum, you have to keep it going. You can't drop the ball.
Peter, I want to put some graphics up on the screen for our audience to soak up here. It shows a recent poll of views on immigration. You believe the goal should be to stop illegal immigration completely and not give illegal immigrants a path to citizenship. Can you tell me tonight how you would deport some 12 million people?
Well, you wouldn't have to deport 12 million people if we just enforced the laws we had on the books, the immigration laws, and if we put in place an effective law to prevent illegals from getting a job in the first place. This is not rocket science. We've known how to do this for the last 30 years. We've just, the government has just failed to do it.
But they're here now. What are you going to do with them?
Well, if you start enforcing the immigration laws and if you start enforcing the workplace laws that are already on the books, many of these people would have to have no choice but to leave on their own and go home. If they can't work here, they're not going to stay.
And I see Miguel shaking his head. You think that's ridiculous?
It's absurd. It's absurd to think that these people are going to go back on their own. What the strategy is, look, we can't afford to deport 12 million people, so what are we going to do? We're going to make their lives miserable for several years until they go back on their own. That's never going to happen, and it's also very inhumane treatment on our part.
What do you think should happen, Roland Martin?
Well, I think first and foremost, look, we're going to have a solution, Paula, that is not going to make illegal immigrants happy, that is not going to make those who oppose illegal immigrants happy. It is going to be an uneasy truce. There will be no doubt that we're going to have some kind of amnesty program that will say for those people currently in the U.S., there's going to be a period of time in which you're going to have to go through the process for a number of years. You're going to have to go through, meet several different qualifications. It's not going to please anybody. The bottom line is 12 million are not going back home. And I think that those who are marching in the streets, I understand their concern. But when talking about illegal immigrants, we have to deal with the reality that illegal comes before immigrants. We do have an immigration policy. Now, you may not like it, but it does indeed exist. But we're going to have to come up with a solution because, as Miguel said, as long as you talk and talk and talk, it's going to continue to get out of control, and then nobody is going to be happy, and everybody was sitting on their hands.
Peter, your reaction to that?
Well, look at Congress has messed this up for the last 30 years. They tried in 1986 to fix it and failed miserably, and it was apparent quite quickly that quite soon thereafter that they had failed. So yeah, Congress has dropped the ball on this, and they have created a situation that is of such stupendous criminality, and it has allowed a situation to get so far out of hand that it has reduced the options that you would normally have. I believe that if you proceed on some basis to, as I said before, enforce the current laws and improve the employer sanction laws, you would have a significant effect. Now, will everybody go home? No, but at least it will reduce the numbers that law enforcement has to deal with.
Of course, what we all have to question is whether anybody has the will to really enforce these employee sanction laws. A lot more to debate with our team here tonight. Hang on, gentlemen. We're going to come back to you. Another aspect of this is what folks are doing on their own. One sheriff isn't waiting for immigration reform. He's got a brand new jail. He's ready and waiting.
Hopefully, within the next day or two, we will be filling the place up.
That quickly, huh?
I hope so.
Out in the open next, one of the few places in this country that actually enforces all of our immigration laws. And a little bit later on, we'll bring an insulting word for illegal Mexican immigrants out in the open to debate whether it's so demeaning it should never be spoken. We'll be right back.